Hi, this is Doma. Welcome back to my channel of Books and Soul. So this week I wanted to talk to you about a book that I just recently finished, and it's called A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This is my first encounter with the writing of Charles Dickens. I know he's considered one of the best writers of English literature, and so it's kind of a shame that I haven't actually picked him up before. But I thought, why not start with this book since it is almost Christmas? I thought it would be interesting to start here. And he is really great. I have to say that I really enjoyed his writing. I enjoyed his style. His style and his way of writing is very descriptive. It's very rich. I mean, his vocabulary is very extensive. I wouldn't say he's overly flowery. I wouldn't say his language is over the top, but his style is really beautiful. It's really, really great. And so I had a lot of fun reading this book. It was very enjoyable. And I know I will be picking up other books by him for sure. So the plot of the story, I think most of us more or less know. But to keep things short, basically in this story, we follow the main character, Scrooge. Right from the beginning, he is described by Dickens as someone who's very greedy, selfish, stingy, very self-centered, doesn't really care much about others. Dickens even describes him as having a cold inside of himself. So, okay, it's winter time, it's cold outside, it's misty, foggy, we're in England. But he says that Scrooge actually was cold on the inside. So his heart was basically made of stone, and it was almost impossible to move this man and to make him care about anything, actually. So the story takes place on Christmas Eve, where we find Scrooge working with his only other employee, it looks like, his underpaid clerk, Mr. Bob Cratchit. He has dinner alone, he's all alone, he goes back home, and he's visited by a ghost of his late business partner, Jacob Marley, who has died 7 years before. And this ghost of his business partner comes with a warning. He wants to warn Scrooge a little bit about what awaits him if he continues living like he's living right now. And he tells him that in the following 3 nights, he will be visited by 3 ghosts. So the ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas present, and the ghost of Christmas yet to come. It's a very fun and interesting plot, and I think it really makes this book very fun to read. So to keep this video short, I wanted to share with you 3 main things that I got out of this book, and I think they're the core of this novella by Charles Dickens. The first thing that is really important as a theme in this book, I think, is Dickens' attempt to talk about the social issues of 19th century England. This is the time of the Industrial Revolution. So we have a lot of social divisions and social issues going on. One of the main ones being obviously poverty. When Scrooge is taken on his voyage of the past, the present, and the future, we are shown, along with Scrooge, various parts of the city where he lives. Also, we're a little bit outside the city. So we are able to see a lot of different places, the different living conditions that are in those various places. So, for example, we are taken to a very dirty, poor part of the city, one that is outside of the center where Scrooge lives. And in this part of the city, we have rats and infestation and sickness. And I mean, you just really see the poverty and deprivation of that part of the city, and the kind of conditions that people have to live in, where it's absolutely horrifying. It's interesting to note that at the beginning of the story, Scrooge is asked to give a donation to charity. And his response to this is that there are institutions already provided by the government that give this sort of service to those who need it. The problem is that Dickens, almost right away, in this dialogue between Scrooge and the people who ask for this donation, Dickens responds that these are not enough, and that there are people who would literally prefer to die than go to those institutions. So he kind of, washes his hands from this problem, and he doesn't see a problem. Instead, the ghosts are showing him that what he thought is there actually isn't, and that there's still so much to be done, that he has no excuse to be as, as self-centered and as selfish as he has been to this point. The second thing that really strikes in this book is how Charles Dickens describes Christmas. So Dickens describes Christmas as just this moment during the year when people know nothing but kindness. They're very happy. Nothing can really break their spirit. So even the poorest families make this day special in that, they're able to in some way, cook up this great dinner, even if it is all very simple. They play games, they sing Christmas carols, they go to church. And Dickens is able to describe this real meaning of Christmas, this original meaning of Christmas, where Christ is at the center, where people know what Christmas is about. And there is this one character especially who I think exemplifies and kind of symbolizes this spirit of Christmas in this book. And that is Tiny Tim. He's the youngest son of Mr. Bob who works for Mr. Scrooge, basically crippled. So he walks with crutches, he's ill, but he is like the source of joy for this family that's actually very poor. And the incredible thing about Tiny Tim is that when Scrooge travels through the various parts of his life, Tiny Tim is actually one of the only characters that is able to really move his heart. So Tiny Tim is kind of like this essence of Christmas, and even Charles Dickens kind of says this in the book. He says, "Spirit of Tiny Tim, thy childish essence was from God." And then there's this other really beautiful quote by Mr. Bob, so by the father of Tiny Tim, who says, "He told me, Tiny Tim, coming home, that he hoped the people saw him in the church because he was a cripple. And it might be pleasant to them to remember, upon Christmas Day, who made lame beggars walk and blind men see." So there it is, Tiny Tim and the spirit of Christmas. There's this beautiful idea in this book that Christmas can really be a moment of change, and it can really melt hearts, and it can really be a moment of becoming someone better, or of striving to be someone better. This brings me to the third theme of this book, which is redemption and change of heart. So obviously this story is mainly about Scrooge. Scrooge, who, when we meet him, he's the worst. He's horrible, selfish, greedy, just not a good man. And the incredible thing is that he is offered the possibility of redemption, of change, like radical change. If you think about it, we meet him when he is already pretty old. Like, he's not a young guy. He's basically almost done with his life. And yet that is precisely the moment when he is giving like his last chance to change. So it's incredible that Charles Dickens, I think in this way, is telling us it's never too late to change. You can be young, you can be old, you can be selfish and stingy, and yet there's hope for you. There is hope for you till the last moment. And all it took was for him to see his life in a new light, basically to reflect on everything that he's done. What was his life? What is his life? And where is he going? And what is the point of his life? And because that's basically what the ghosts did for him. And he was able to realize that he doesn't want to be this man and he wants to change. And I think that is the beauty of this story, that there is hope, like this hope of change and this hope of becoming someone better, someone who's interested in others, someone who actually lives for others and not just for themselves. Would I recommend this book? Yes, I would. I think it's great. I really didn't expect it. I thought I knew everything there is to know about this story already. That was false. It's really worth reading. I think, especially in this period, right before Christmas, I think this is a really good book to pick up. I will definitely be taking away these 3 themes that I shared with you in this video. Number 1, that it is never too late to change, and that it is never too late to just, sit down, stop, and think a little bit about our lives. Look at what we've done. Look at what point we're at in our lives. What is the point of some of the things that we are doing? Are we happy with the way things are going and kind of the direction in which we are moving? I think this kind of reevaluation and looking at one's life is necessary. And I think that Scrooge can help us with that. The second thing I'm taking away is the Christmas that Charles Dickens describes. So a Christmas that has Christ at its core. It has love, generosity, that has family and friends and being with people at its core. So not presents, not things, not empty stuff, but just Christmas in its simplicity. A Christmas where the spirit is alive and where the spirit can thrive. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you will pick this book up and read it. Once again, it's really worth it. And I hope to see you soon, at least one more time before Christmas arrives. But for now, that's it. Thank you for watching my video. Bye!